A used outboard can hide thousands of dollars of damage under a fresh coat of spray paint and a motor that fires right up in the driveway. I've watched people hand over $6,000, $8,000, $10,000 for an engine that sounded perfect on a hose and then died the first real day on the water. Because the stuff that kills an outboard happens on the inside where you can't see it. And a seller who knows the motor is bad has every reason to keep you from looking. The good news is that you don't need to be a mechanic to catch almost all of it. You need to know the right 12 things to check, in the right order, and you need to be willing to walk away when one of them goes wrong. Get these right, and you'll either drive home with a great motor for half the price of new, or you'll dodge a bullet that would have cost you a fortune. Let me start with the single most important one. The one check that can end the whole deal in 5 minutes and save you the most money of anything on this list. Check 1. The compression test. If you only do one thing on this entire list, do this. A compression test measures how much pressure each cylinder builds, and it's the closest thing you have to an X-ray of the engine's health. You pull the spark plugs, screw a cheap compression gauge into each cylinder one at a time, crank the engine over, and write down the number. A basic gauge costs about $30 at any auto parts store, and it's the best $30 you'll ever spend. Here's what you're actually looking for, and it's simpler than people make it. You're not chasing a perfect factory number because a used motor will read a little lower from normal wear. What you want is consistency. Every cylinder should read within about 10% of the others. If one cylinder is way down compared to the rest, that engine has a real internal problem. A wear ring, a scored cylinder, a bad valve, and you walk away. A guy on a boating forum put it perfectly. He bought a motor that started right up and ran fine in a bucket, took it out on the lake and it had no power. Because one cylinder had no compression. He found out after he paid. You find out before. A failed cylinder means a power head rebuild, and that runs anywhere from $1,500 on a small motor to $7,500 on a big 4-stroke. The $30 gauge just saved you all of it. Check 2. Corrosion under the cowl. Pop the top off and really look. The outside of an outboard can be waxed and shiny while the inside is rotting, and saltwater corrosion under the cowl is where the truth lives. Look for white, crusty salt deposits, green corrosion on the wiring and connectors, and rust around the power head. A clean engine outside but a filthy, corroded mess under the cowl tells you exactly how this motor was treated. Now here's the dirty trick to watch for, because sellers use it. Some will spray paint the power head to hide corrosion and make an old salt-eaten engine look fresh. So if the block looks suspiciously new, freshly painted with overspray on parts that shouldn't be painted, get suspicious. Marine surveyors look for exactly this because a repainted block is often hiding an engine that overheated or corroded badly. Fresh paint on an old motor isn't pride of ownership. It's usually camouflage. So those are your first two. And notice they cost you nothing but a gauge in your eyeballs. Now let's actually wake the thing up, because what an engine does when it's running tells you things no still inspection can. Check 3. Run it and watch the temperature and the telltale. A motor that won't run while you're standing there is an automatic no. But running it is about more than just hearing it start. Get it running, on the boat in the water if you possibly can, or on a hose with muffs at the very least, and then watch 3 things. Watch the telltale, that little stream of pee that squirts out the side. It should be strong and steady, which tells you the water pump is moving cooling water. Feel the engine cover after a few minutes. It should be warm, not scaldingly hot. And listen to the idle. It should settle into a smooth rhythm after it warms up, not hunt and stall. Keep in mind, a motor always runs a little rougher on a hose than in the water, because there's less back pressure in the exhaust, so don't panic at a slightly high or lumpy idle on the muffs. What you're really watching for is an overheat alarm, steam, or a weak telltale. Because any of those means a cooling problem, and a cooling problem on a used motor you don't know the history of could mean it's already cooked itself once. Check 4. The transom it's bolted to. This is the one almost nobody checks, and it's the one that can cost the most. If you're buying the motor still attached to a boat, the engine can be absolutely perfect, and you can still get destroyed by the thing it's mounted to. The transom is the part of the boat the outboard bolts onto. And on a lot of older boats, that transom has a wood core inside the fiberglass. Water gets in through old bolt holes, the wood rots, and a rotten transom can flex, crack, or in a bad case, let a running outboard tear partway off the back of the boat. Push hard on the engine with it tilted up and watch where it meets the hull. Look for any flex or movement or cracking around the mount. Look for soft spots, stress cracks, and water stains on the transom. Because here's the number that matters. Replacing a rotted transom runs anywhere from $3,000 to over $10,000, which on a used boat is often more than the whole rig is worth. People get so focused on the engine that they forget to check what's holding it on. That's 4 checks down, and we've already covered the 2 things, the cooked power head and the rotted transom, that turn a cheap used motor into a money pit. Now let's read the secrets the engine's own fluids are hiding. Because the oil on an outboard tells 2 completely different stories. Check 5. The lower unit oil. Down at the bottom of the motor, in the gear case, there's gear oil. And that oil is a confession. Find the lower drain screw, take it out, and let a little oil drip onto your finger or a white rag. You're looking for 2 bad signs. First, if the oil is milky, kind of a coffee with too much creamer color, that means water is getting past the seals into the gear case. And water in there means the gears are rusting and grinding themselves down. Second, if you see metal shavings or a fine metallic glitter in the oil, the gears are already coming apart. Either one is a serious problem. A lower unit rebuild or replacement runs well over $1,000, and on bigger motors, a lot more. Good gear oil looks clean and clear, like honey. Milky or sparkly gear oil is the motor telling you the lower unit is on its way out. And that's a hard line to negotiate or to walk away from. Check 6. The engine oil on a 4-stroke. If it's a 4-stroke motor, it has engine oil up top too, just like a car, and that oil tells a different story than the gear oil down low. Pull the dipstick. You're checking the level, sure, but you're really checking the condition. Milky, foamy oil on the dipstick, or oil that's over full, means water or fuel is getting into the crankcase, which points to a blown head gasket or a serious internal leak. Give it a sniff too. If the oil smells strongly of gas, fuel is washing down into the oil, which is its own expensive problem. Black oil just means it's due for a change. That's normal and fine. Milky or fuel-smelling oil is the warning sign. Between the gear oil down low and the engine oil up top, you've now got 2 independent reports on the health of this motor. And if either one comes back milky, you've got your answer. So now you've read the fluids. Here's where it gets interesting. Because the next check is the one that catches a lying seller dead in his tracks. Check 7. The real hours and the fault codes. Here's something a lot of buyers don't realize. Most modern fuel-injected outboards, the EFI motors from the last 15 years or so, keep track of their own engine hours and store fault codes in their computer, just like a modern car. The seller can tell you whatever he wants about the hours. The computer knows the truth. A marine mechanic with a scan tool, or in some cases a dealer, can plug into the engine and pull the real running hours and the entire history of fault codes. Every time that engine overheated, every sensor that failed, every alarm it ever threw. This is the lie detector. If a seller swears the motor has 200 hours and the computer says 900, you've learned 2 things: the real hours and the fact that the seller will lie to your face. It's worth paying a mechanic a small fee to do this scan on an expensive motor because the hours alone can swing the value by thousands of dollars. An ECU, the computer itself, is a few $100 used, so this isn't an exotic ask. If the seller refuses to let you scan it, that refusal is its own answer. Check 8. Research that exact model's known problems. This one is free. You do it on your phone before you even show up, and it's one of the most valuable things on this list. Every outboard model has a known weak spot, a specific failure that model is famous for. Certain Yamaha motors are known for exhaust corrosion that eats them from the inside. Certain older 2-strokes are known for blowing power heads. Some models have a specific year where the manufacturer changed something and quality dropped. Type the exact model and year into a search along with the word problems and read the forums. The boating forums are full of owners and mechanics documenting exactly what goes wrong with every motor ever made. Walk up to that used outboard already knowing its Achilles heel and you'll know precisely what to inspect and what to ask. The seller's hoping you don't know the motor's history. 10 minutes on your phone the night before flips that completely. We're 2/3 of the way there, and you've now got the tools to catch the big internal problems and the seller's lies. The last 4 are faster, but don't skip them because the very last one is the one that protects you from everything else. Check 9. Shift through all the gears. With the engine running, work it through forward, neutral, and reverse. It should drop into each gear cleanly with a single clunk, not a grinding, not a long hesitation, not a fight. Grinding or crunching when you shift, or a motor that won't stay in gear, points straight at problems in that lower unit we talked about. Shifting should feel positive and clean. If it feels rough or vague, that's the gear case warning you. And it lines up with anything bad you found in the gear oil. Check 10. The propeller and the prop shaft. Pull the prop off. It only takes a minute and it tells you 2 important things. First, look behind the prop for fishing line wrapped around the shaft. Because line that's been wrapped in there a long time can cut right through the seal and let water into the gear case, which is how that milky oil starts. Second, with the prop off, spin the shaft and watch it. It should spin perfectly true. If you see a wobble, the prop shaft is bent, and a bent shaft means this motor hit something hard at some point, which raises the question of what else that impact damaged inside. While the prop's in your hand, check it for dings, cracks, and welded repairs too. A beat-up prop is cheap to replace, but it also tells you this motor lived a rough life. That's 10, and your hands are dirty now, which is exactly where they should be. The last 2 are the ones people are most tempted to skip, because they're standing there with cash in their pocket ready to buy. Don't skip them, especially the final one. Check 11. The steering and the trim. Grab the engine and move it. The steering should turn smoothly side to side without grinding or stiffness. And the power trim should tilt the motor up and down smoothly and then hold its position without slowly sinking back down. These get ignored constantly, and they shouldn't be because a seized steering system or a leaking trim setup is genuinely expensive to fix. A boating forum mechanic said it flat out. Make sure the steering and trim are good or it could cost you thousands. Salt loves to seize up steering tubes and corrode trim rams. And replacing that hardware is a real bill on top of whatever you paid for the motor. Smooth steering, trim that lifts and holds. Anything less is a negotiating point or a walk away. Check 12. The walk away red flags. This last one ties everything together, and it's the most important habit of all. Some sellers will set off alarm bells just by how they behave, and you need to listen to them. Walk away, no matter how good the price looks. If the seller refuses to let you run a compression test, if he won't let you run the motor or do a sea trial, if the block is freshly painted and he gets cagey about why, if he can't or won't show you a title and matching paperwork, which can mean the motor is stolen, if he's rushing you, pressuring you, or making excuses for why you can't check the things on this list, an honest seller with a good motor has nothing to hide. And we'll let you check all 12 of these because every one of them confirms his motor is solid. The seller who fights you on the inspection is telling you something, and it's usually the truth he doesn't want you to find. The price is never good enough to outweigh a seller who won't let you look. So there's your 12. And here's the thing to hold on to. A used outboard can be the single best money you ever spend on the water. A motor at half the price of new with years of good life left on it. Or it can be a beautiful looking anchor that empties your wallet the first month you own it. The only difference between those 2 outcomes is whether you checked before the money left your hands. Bring a compression gauge, bring a rag for the oil, bring your phone with the model's known problems already pulled up, and bring the discipline to walk away. The motor you don't buy because it failed check 1 is worth just as much to you as the good one you do buy, because both of them just saved you a fortune. Take your time, check all 12, and let the seller in a hurry sell to somebody else.